Great morning, everyone. Hold on one moment. Great morning, great morning. Depending upon when you're watching the replay as well, hello to our replay viewers. Great morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me make sure we are live in our groups. I'm pretty sure we are. All right, y'all. We are ready to go. I want to thank you, first of all, for being so gracious because, yes, I am running insanely behind this morning, but I thank you so much for being gracious as we get through the day. What I wanted to do today, we're not going to do because nobody wanted to talk on camera. No one wanted to pop on and be a part of the discussion today, which totally shocks me. I just knew you guys would want to be on camera, but y'all don't. So, and have a discussion about the book, but you don't. And it really surprised me. Okay, hold on. We need to switch. Okay, that should come out better. I needed to switch. For some reason, our internet, it keeps doing something odd. And so I needed to switch what it was connected to, and hopefully that will help the stream a little bit better. We're going to see. I'm checking. If you can hear me okay. What's up? I see you guys. Let me know that you can hear me okay. Let me know that you can see me okay. Please and thank you. Let me take a peek at it one more time. Let's see. I think it's better now. All right. Great morning. I'm having a wild hair day. Hair is just doing what it wants to do, but you know what? It's okay. Great morning. Let's dig in. Great morning, Laskaya. I see you, beautiful. I think the connection is better, so we're going to go ahead and get started because I don't want to have any issues this morning. As I was saying, I really wanted to have a book discussion with you guys, but nobody really wanted to come on camera with me. So we're going to dig into secret number 20. All right. So we are officially on secret 20 of this book. This means that when we finish today, we are halfway done with the book, which I think is such a blessing because this book has been blessing me tremendously. And yeah, it's just really good. So there are 40 secrets in the book, and we are now finishing secret 20. Secret number 20 is the most important organ of leadership is your mouth. I could not have planned this any better. I just couldn't have. I couldn't have. And you're going to see what I mean in a little bit. The most important organ of leadership is your mouth. Let's go ahead and pray and let's dig in to secret number 20. Great morning, Father. Thank you so much for another day that we get the opportunity to be a part of. We are blessed because of you. We have life because of you. And we know that there are so many things that we could not do for ourselves, but it is because of you that, as they say, we live, we move, and we have our being. Father God, this morning, we want to thank you for just shining your blessings upon us. We want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to be connected. We are not all close together. Some of us are much farther away, but somehow you created a world where we are interconnected. And Father, we could not be more grateful. We're grateful because people we would have never had the opportunity to meet because they don't live down the street from us, we have a real solid, genuine connection with. And I thank you for every single relationship and every single friendship and just being cultivated right now because of this process. Father, show us what you would have us to see today in these words on this page. Thank you for bringing us to this book and to one another. Thank you for your blessings. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, y'all. Let's dig in to secret number 20. And again, thank you for your graciousness because I know that we started a little later today. It's been a crazy morning around here, but we don't stop. He says that just the title of this secret alone is a little counterintuitive, because you would think that he would say the most important organ would be your brain, not not your mouth. Because we just talked about how listening was so important in the last secret. He gives us 2 ears to listen, 1 mouth to speak, listen more than we speak. He just talked about all of that. And now we're talking about using your mouth. This is so insanely good. Listen, y'all, check this out. He talks about how doctors, he said, it might surprise people to know that there are some doctors who make a fortune, while then there are other doctors who are barely making a living. Barely making a living. Some doctors are making a fortune. Some doctors are barely making a living. Well, what is the difference? Could it be that the doctor who's barely making a living went to a really bad medical school? Most likely not, because the doctors that we love, we have no clue where they went to school. Most of us have never inquired, where'd you get your degree from? Where'd you do your residency? Most of us have no idea, right? So how do we find them? Most likely it was because somebody referred them. Let me tell you, I know this firsthand from having to look for a doctor before and thinking, I'm not just going to Google. Let me just reach out to some friends and see who recommends who, and we'll go from there. I just received a letter in the mail this week. All of my children and my husband have the same doctor. I am the only one who has a different doctor because my doctor stopped accepting new patients. And so all of them have the same one. It took me a while to find a doctor for all of them. And now he's leaving the practice after, I don't know, so many years. And so they gave us this list of doctors whom can really take care of everybody. But I'm looking at these like, I don't know these people. So we are back in the same position where I need to find another doctor for my family, because I don't know the doctors whom they recommended. I don't know what their bedside manner is like. I don't know if they're good with children. I just don't know. My previous pediatrician for the children, she was actually good. I'm sorry guys, my eyes are itching. She was actually a really good pediatrician. She and her husband worked together. The problem was she was notoriously late. I mean, like, you make an appointment for 9 a.m. and you might not get seen until almost 10 o'clock. Well, when you have infants and toddlers, that is a challenge, keeping them occupied that long. So I just couldn't do it anymore. And I found a new doctor. Word of mouth is how I found them. My gynecologist, OB-GYN, word of mouth is how I found them. And now, how do we use the whole word of mouth thing? Why is it that we like certain doctors and not others? In a lot of cases, it's because of how they communicate. Some doctors we don't like because they don't communicate well. And that's what he talks about here. He says doctors' hands are very important tools in their work, but the gift of speaking and communicating well will make all the difference when it comes to running a good practice that makes money and best serves patients. This is key. So you have a profession that everybody assumes everyone in this profession is making good money. But sometimes that couldn't be farther from the truth. Some doctors are struggling, really, really struggling, barely making ends meet. And it's because their practice isn't running well. And communication could be one of the primary reasons why. He said, for doctors and all business professionals, good communication skills are what make the difference between earning a lot of money and a little money. Speech is God's great gift to us. It's a unique gift that God gave to only humans. This is so good. Animals can communicate to some degree, but not with words. Human beings are able to communicate ideas with words, which allows for nuance and detail and abstraction and specificity. We are not born as good communicators, though, and this is where it gets really important. We have to learn to communicate effectively. So this is the thing. No one is born with like this great ability to communicate. You know what I mean? Like, we're not born with that. Now, some of us are gifted in speaking. I get that. But most people, we're not born. Like, think about it. None of us can talk when we're born. We learn to talk. We develop the skill. And that should be encouraging, because I know firsthand public speaking is such a big deal for a lot of people. Some people are so afraid to do public speaking. It's just absolutely insane. Like, so afraid. People would, the first fear, one of the biggest fears that people have is the fear of speaking in public. That is literally one of the biggest fears. Then there's the fear of death. People are more afraid to speak in public than they are of dying. Right? And he's telling us here that communication is so powerful. But I think one of the great things about it is we're not born that way. I love the fact that it's a gift, or I love the fact that it's not a gift, and that we can develop it. We can develop it, because I remember being afraid to speak in public. True story, right? This is one of the most important secrets I could reveal to you: the importance of learning to communicate effectively. It doesn't matter how you make your living. This part, y'all ready? It doesn't matter how you make your living. However you serve other people, you will do so better by speaking more effectively. It doesn't matter if you're a bus driver or a salesperson, whether you are a waiter, plumber, bookkeeper, landscaper, veterinarian, or landscaper. He said it twice. Whatever you do for a living, you will perform better and make more money if you learn to use your mouth more effectively than you do now. You guys, this is so good. Oh my God. This is so good. Laskaya, guess what? He actually is going to address that in just a second. Laskaya says, sometimes not knowing what to say, losing my words, it just takes practice. One of the things that is so important, he actually points it out in this chapter. People who read a lot, this is one of the ways that you can actually learn to become a better speaker. You have to consume information. You have to consume it, because in a lot of cases, we don't know what to say because we haven't consumed as much information as we could. Listen, y'all, I consume a lot of information. This hair is just crazy today. Like, it is literally everywhere. Okay, I consume a lot of information. A lot. When I'm running, I'm listening to Audible. And right now I'm listening to a book called The Master Key by Napoleon Hill, which corresponds to his book that I have over here, The Laws of Success. He has 16 or 17 laws, and that is something that I'm not trying to read through quickly. It's something that I'm not trying to listen to very fast. I've been listening to chapter 1 for a week because I just keep replaying chapter 1. My goal with that book specifically, because it's a thick one, y'all. Here, let me show you. Let me see if I can grab it real quick. This one. It's a big one. My wealth community that I'm a part of, they were reading this book when I joined the community, and they were almost done with it. And so that was sometime last year, and they were at the very end. This is a really heavy book. It's a really thick book. And so there are 16 laws, I think, in this book, 16 or 17 laws of success. So my goal is not to read all of this year. It's not. My goal is to focus on one law a month and actually put that law in action. Okay. So by next year sometime, I'll be done with this book. My goal is not to consume all of this at once. It's literally to take it piece by piece by piece. One success principle a month. That's all I'm focused on. So that's something I'm consuming. More information I'm consuming. The book that we're reading together, I'm consuming that. I am re-listening to, I'm listening to it, read it the first time, but I'm listening to and also rereading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Okay. I consume a lot of information from our company because we're an educational company. And so I consume a lot of information. So I'm constantly consuming information, constantly reading more and more information. I'm also, for myself, reading a book that is called Becoming Supernatural. So I'm looking at multiple things at one time. And I know everybody can't do that many books simultaneously. For me, it's kind of like when I was in college. I had to read these books at the same time, different subjects. It's kind of like that for me. And I'm able to compartmentalize them in my head. And then they kind of build upon one another. But the more you can consume, okay, if you become a voracious consumer of information, the more you do that, the more you'll be able to articulate even better. Okay, because you'll have time to kind of formulate the ideas in your mind, and you have things to draw upon. So that will help with that. And he actually gives that as a suggestion. So he gives us homework. And the first piece of homework, he says, is find 3 occasions a week where for 30 minutes you read out loud. And he says you have to read something good. No garbage. Something good would be books like we're talking about here. It may be this book here. Read this out loud, okay? And the whole purpose when you're reading it out loud is you're literally hearing yourself, okay? He said one of the very important insights of ancient Jewish wisdom is that our souls are enormously impacted by that which our ears hear, our own mouths speak, right? So if you want to improve your speaking, here's what you have to do. Listen more and listen better. The best way to do this is to listen to yourself speak. Get to know how you speak and how you should speak. So he recommends for homework, finding a book. It could be the book that we're reading. It could be, like I was pointing out, some of the other things that we have here. But a good book, some good wisdom, some things that'll help you grow business-wise, some things that will help you in your personal life, you know what I mean? But a good book, not a romance novel, not, what are they called? Not Essence magazine, not just magazines that you can pick up. No, a book, specifically a book, because magazines and books are written differently, but a book. Read out loud for 30 minutes. If someone wants to listen to you read out loud, if you have a significant other that's like, yeah, I'll listen to it. A lot of people enjoy being read to. And so perhaps you can read to your significant other. You can read to someone in your family. If you have older children, younger children, you can read to them. And so to do it, and you can even use the Bible. Let's say, for example, you don't have a lot of books at home and you don't want to buy another one, or you can't buy another one right now. You can use your Bible, okay? But the goal is to read out loud 30 minutes 3 times a week. And what's going to happen is you're going to enunciate, because you may find yourself in a position where a person's like, I can't hear you. Or you realize you're not speaking loud enough. Or you record yourself. Like we all have these phones. You can record yourself on your phone. And then you're like, I can barely hear myself on there. And so now you can start to enunciate, articulate the words better. You can feel the way your mouth moves, the way your tongue rolls around the words. All those things are going to help you become an even better speaker because you're practicing. The thing about speaking that a lot of people do not understand, somebody will look at me and be like, well, you're just really good at it. But I practice it a lot. And I've been practicing speaking for years now. Yes, it was something that I found I enjoyed, unlike the average person. But even if you're afraid, you're terrified, first of all, you can push through the fear, but you can also get better at it. And so when you start speaking and you start reading, you become better. Now, when you practice with somebody, now you're getting even better, because now you're practicing reading to somebody. That is speaking in front of someone. That's a big deal. Okay, that's a really big deal. He said the second thing, so the first homework is to start reading. Okay, 3 times a week for 30 minutes out loud, not to yourself, out loud. Okay, it is very different. And I even know this. I've done it before. When I'm reading to myself silently, I can read quicker than if I'm reading out loud. It's something completely different when you start reading out loud. And so it helps when I'm doing a lot of presentations, I have to make myself slow down so I can articulate the words correctly. And when I say I practice a lot when it comes to speaking, I mean I practice a lot. I do 2 presentations a day minimum, and then I do presentations with teammates. In addition to that, I get opportunities to speak. And so I speak a lot. And I have been doing that for, at this point, close to a decade now. So I get a lot of practice. In addition to that, we do videos every single day. At this point, I've probably done close to, it's over 500 videos, probably close to 1,000 at this point. So the point is, I have been speaking and practicing, and every single time, even doing this is practice. I've been doing it over and over and over. When you do lives, like Facebook lives, Instagram lives, when you go live on social media, guess what? That's practicing again. You get to decide how you want to speak, and you get to practice it that way. Okay. So the second thing he says you need to do is you need to acclimate yourself to speaking in front of people. Jump at the opportunity to speak in public. Public speaking can be frightening, but you can overcome the stage fright with practice. I am like the perfect example of that. The perfect example. Okay. As you get more experience and practice reading aloud and speaking publicly, you will begin to develop as a speaker. Now, this is what's so amazing. Why I say I could not have planned this more perfectly. I did not even try. I didn't even realize that is what Secret 20 was that the most important organ of leadership is your mouth. I didn't know he was going to talk about speaking. And I gave everybody an opportunity to practice today. Because what I wanted to do today was I really wanted people to be able to hop on here with me and for us to just have a discussion. We weren't even going to talk about Secret 20. We were just going to talk about how the book overall has been a blessing. And if you felt like the book has been a blessing to you, and if you wanted to participate in the discussion, and that was it. And so we were going to have an opportunity to have a discussion right here on live. And like nobody jumped at the opportunity because a lot of people are afraid of popping up on camera. So I could not have planned this more perfectly, even without planning it. It totally happened on accident, but God just set it up that way. So jump at the opportunity to speak in public. He says, initially you may be speaking at small family gatherings, perhaps proposing a toast at an event. But the better you get and the more opportunities to speak publicly that you seize upon, the more often that better opportunities will come your way. This is a true story. And I got to thank my aunt for this. My aunt, whenever we would have my family on my mom's side of the family, we'd have all these huge reunions and award ceremonies and like all these things. I don't remember how. I don't remember when. But at some point, my aunt realized that I was a proficient speaker. And so after that, she would create opportunities for me to get in front of the family and speak all the time. She would create them. And I remember her telling me one year that she was doing that. And I didn't realize it. And so you will have people who nurture you. So that was my aunt as a teenager and a very young adult. And then I think about a networking group that I used to be a part of. I think about how, because of the people that I met and a coaching community that I was part of, I think about the people that I met and I think about the speaking opportunities I got there. They created in this Facebook community that we had, they created something where they would have us train. Okay. And so at least 4 times I was able to train on Facebook with them. That was one. Or for that coaching community that had a couple thousand participants in it. So that was one. And then they had where they would continue to develop and continue to nurture you. So they had events where we meet in person. They created a couple of larger events. One of the events they created, I got an opportunity to speak at that event. Then they created another event. I got an opportunity to speak at that event. But because I met people and it was a networking community, there was a lady there that was amazing who I still have a relationship with to this day. Man, and I got introduced to this community 5 years ago. Okay. And so I was a part of it for 2 years. And then after that, things kind of shifted. And I grew in another direction. But one of the ladies that I had connected with there, which was so powerful, she started having these events. She has a beautiful business model. And she asked me, she wanted to work together and we just didn't know how to do it. And so one day she asked me, she said, Damita, I got it. Can you be the host for the event that I have? And I was like, sure. I had never hosted an event before, not for somebody else, never. And so I hosted that event for her. It turned out amazing. Then she had a bigger event, and I hosted that bigger event for her, which prepared me for a few weeks ago when I was able to host an event of over 1,000 people or MC that event. Now, I created my own platform as well because I started having a few years ago, about 4 years ago. Yeah, it was about 4 years ago, not 5. 4 years ago, I started having in-person workshops. Those in-person workshops that I would have, of course, I'd have to speak at those. And then I had those same workshops in an online fashion. Then I ended up having a couple of different galas. I had a brunch, then I had a gala. And of course, I spoke at those. Then my network marketing business. I've been in network marketing now for close to 10 years. I've done live presentations over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And so when people give you opportunities, even if they're small, take them. Take them. Because that's where your practice comes in. And you will find that the audience size, you're going to develop as a speaker. You're going to find your voice, and you're going to find that the audience size will start to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. One of the things about live video, I have a philosophy when it comes to live video like this. I think that you should do them even when nobody is watching. I do. Why do I think that? Great morning. Why do I think that? I think that because in the beginning, when the only person watching is your sister, or the only person watching is your father, or your husband, or your girlfriend, when the only person watching is them, and so it's one person the whole time, or no persons the whole time. The reason that that is powerful is because you're getting your voice together. You're developing. You're honing your voice. You're finding your voice. You're fine-tuning it. And so you don't need a huge audience to fine-tune your voice in front of. You need to find your voice first, and then guess what? The audience comes. But you need to seize the opportunities as they come in order to be able to do that. Okay? So this says people will recognize your developing talent and will start coming to you when they need a speaker. And that's exactly what happens. Don't miss an opportunity to speak in public. Speaking publicly is valuable training, and often it is free. Eventually, you may even find yourself getting paid for your efforts. I remember 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, connecting with this lady. And it was so interesting connecting with her because someone recommended her and being one of the speakers for her event. And I remember it was on a cruise. And so the dollar amounts that she gave, I'm like, okay, cool. This is going to be awesome. So I start paying for my cruise only to find out that no, you had to pay to speak as well. And I was like, no, I will not pay you to speak on a boat. I don't need to pay you to get in front of your audience. I don't believe in that. I believe that as you continue to hone your message, the audience will get bigger and people will begin to pay you to speak. I don't believe in you paying people to speak on their platform when their platforms are not even that grandiose. And so, of course, I let her know that that wasn't going to be a good fit for me. And sorry, I needed to gracefully back out. And so he says here, speaking publicly is valuable training and often it's free. I only do it when it's free or when someone is paying me. I don't pay someone to speak on their platform. Okay. He says something really big. He says, if you don't have family events that you can easily attend to speak at, you got other options. One of the best options, and I took advantage of this, I don't even know how long ago now, sometime within the last, it may be within the last 10 years. I'm not sure. It's Toastmasters. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Toastmasters. It's an international organization and they train you to speak from like just infancy up. You could have zero speaking experience. And Toastmasters is such a beautiful organization where you can learn because it's a nurturing organization. It's an encouraging one. You're going to find that when you're there, Even if you are so afraid that your knees are knocking together and people can hear it, you are sweating profusely, they are still going to encourage you. It is the most beautiful organization for speaking. Okay, regardless of what level you are. When I joined Toastmasters, it was because I wanted to become a better speaker, not because I thought I wasn't good at it. But it's one of those places where you can flourish, because if you're not good at it, if you're afraid, if this is the beginning for you, you can go to Toastmasters and start there. If you're a person that you feel pretty proficient and you want to get better, you can go to Toastmasters and you can start there, and you could just perfect that skill more and more and more. Now, he offers some tips as we close out this chapter, and I'm going to offer one more that I think is so insanely powerful. He says, let me offer you a few tips. The first tip he says is don't bring notes. Now, this is an interesting point. Some people would think there's no way I'm talking without notes. Like, that's not happening. He says that if you just read your notes, guess what? You're boring. You don't connect with the audience. Let me tell you what I do. Okay. Depending upon the occasion, I do not have a speech written out. I never do that. I don't function well like that. What I will do is I will have bullet points. And I'll have those bullet points written out, and I know, I want to hit these points. I don't want to forget that. That's it. And I use those bullet points and I speak from those bullet points. Why? Because it's more genuine. Sometimes do I forget a few things that I want to say? I do. And then afterwards I'm like, dang it, I meant to share that. I forgot it. But I just got to trust the information that I shared was enough. So that does happen. But I don't speak from notes. He says when you look into their eyes, meaning your audience, and you speak from your heart, they will connect with you. This is the essence of being a good public speaker. Speakers draw off their audiences for inspiration. Now that, yes, I was speaking to an audience just this past week on Wednesday, and there was a gentleman, there were a couple gentlemen, they weren't paying attention that much. And so one of them had the most beautiful locks. His hair was gorgeous. And I walked over to him while I was speaking, and I put my hand on his shoulder and I was like, your hair is absolutely amazing. In the middle of me speaking, that was my way to draw off of his energy, or to let him know I see you, and to get him more engaged in the conversation, get him more engaged in what we were doing. Right. That somebody said he did. So they must have been at that event. That's so funny. But they just weren't, he and a gentleman that was with him, they weren't really paying that much attention. And, hold on, where is this thing at? There we go. And so I was just like, wow, he's not really focused that much. So, but that was my way to get him a little more engaged in the conversation. Okay. And it worked. It actually worked, which was so cool. So sometimes, or not sometimes, but all the time, actually, when you are speaking in public, you can draw off of the, oh, that's Lana. I see you, Lana. You can draw off of the audience's, you can draw off of them for inspiration. And it's like an ebb and a flow that happens. It's an ebb and a flow. You can make eye contact. But his point is, if you are just reading paper, you could have just sent them that paper and they could have read it themselves. Yeah. Oh, Angela says something really cool. She says, sometimes when you speak, I find that the audience doesn't always hear what you say. They get the message that is meant for them, if that makes sense. It absolutely makes sense, because that's how we are. We do our best when we're speaking to articulate the message right, or the way that we want to convey it, but that's not always what people hear. And that's also part of communication, which is so insanely powerful. Okay. His second tip, is hands, gestures, things like that. A lot of people don't know what to do with their body when they're speaking. And so they need to loosen up, right? And so one of his suggestions is to gesture naturally, but to watch videos of great orators and notice how they move. You will be amazed that when you begin talking and speaking in front of people, that you will not know what to do with your hands. It seems so odd, but you just won't know what to do with them. And so you have the person who doesn't know what to do, so they keep their hands rigidly in their pockets and they don't move them out of their pockets, and that's weird. And then you have the person that their hands are flailing all over the place, and that's kind of weird. Or the person who's really stiff, and that's kind of weird. And his point is just gesture naturally, because it's part of the conversation. So just gesture naturally. Now I'm going to add a third tip that wasn't in this book. Okay. This third tip, when was this book written? Hold on. What's the date on this? 2014. I guess technically we had live video back then, but we weren't using it like we're using it now. I'm going to give you another tip. And you guys, this tip is so good. And you're going to pay attention to this tip now. Watch. You ready? Let me adjust my screen just a little. I'm going to make it, pull it down a little. So this is what happens often when people are on live videos, when they're on webinars, when we're using Zoom, all different types of things. Instead of looking at the camera, they look at themselves. And so when I'm looking at myself and I'm talking, I am not connecting with you. You know why? Because the camera is up there. So if I look at the camera, now you feel like I'm making eye contact. When you do videos right now, I know until you get accustomed to doing them, this is actually odd because you're not looking at anybody. I look at the camera. When I look away from the camera, that is me looking at people, like I'm surveying the people, and then I come back to the camera. So if you see me on Zoom, right, and I tell a little joke, you'll see me look away for a second, and then I'll come right back. That little joke, me looking away, is me looking at people to see if they're engaged, and then I'm coming back to the camera. So when you are recording on your phone, y'all, this is important. Do not look at yourself. Where is the camera located on your phone? If the camera is located up here, this is where you should be looking, up here, not at yourself down here. Because when you look at yourself, you're not making eye contact virtually with whoever is on the other end. That one trick, that one tip will do wonders for your speaking virtually. We do a lot virtually right now. We do a lot of videos when it comes to speaking. And so you need to know those tips, because what you'll find yourself doing, or the other thing people will find themselves doing, is this. If you have a screen full of people, you'll keep looking at all the people. And what happens is no one ever feels like you're making eye contact with them because you keep looking at the people, right? Nobody ever feels like you're making eye contact. So you look and you make eye contact. The camera is right there. That's where I'm looking. And then I survey for impact and connection, and then I get right back to the camera. Okay, so find out where your camera is located, and that's where you look while you're speaking. And so that means I'm staring at a little circle on my computer. That means that I'm not looking at anyone else. I'm not looking at myself, and it can feel so disconnecting, but it isn't. You're trying to connect with the person on the other end. So that is my powerful tip. Powerful. It makes a difference. Now you're going to notice, like, why are they never looking at us? Because they're looking at the screen. They're not looking at the camera, so it never feels like they're looking at you. Now you're going to notice it as people start to do things, and now you know why it's happening. And now you can fix it for yourself too. Cool beans? All right. You only have to worry about that when you're the speaker, not when you're listening. When you're listening, you can just look at the screen. But the speaker needs to look at the camera. So let's close this thing out. He says to practice reading aloud. Jump at opportunities to speak, and you will see improvements in no time. No time. It won't take long at all. Follow this advice, put in the work, and it will pay dividends like you cannot believe. Because again, your mouth, your ability to speak, is one of your greatest tools when it comes to making more money. I am so grateful to learn how to communicate. And I get challenged still, because it's not just about speaking from stage. It is about how you speak in everyday situations. It's about how I communicate with my customers. It's about how I communicate with my clients. It's about how I communicate with my team and the leaders on my team. And so if there's something that I notice communication wise where it's not as Angela said, that they hear something different than what I'm saying, then I need to learn how to communicate in a way where they can hear what it is, the message that I'm actually trying to convey. Same thing. When they're speaking, one of the things of being a good leader and communicator is me being able to listen to them effectively and understanding exactly what it is they're trying to say. So I don't hear what I want to hear. I hear what they're actually saying. I got the best example of this past weekend because my dad was sharing something with my daughter and it hurt her feelings. And he quite simply said this: my daughter and my son are both learning how to play chess. My dad is teaching them. And so Jalen is 14. Giselle is 7 at the time of this recording. She'll be 8 in a couple of weeks. And my dad said, Giselle wanted to play. And my dad was like, I'm going to play with Jalen. I'm going to play with Jalen first because he's picking up on some of the skills of the game. You still don't know how to actually play it yet, really understand the rules. So I'm going to play with him first. And she got all bent out of shape and upset. And she was like, he doesn't want to play with me. And I said, Giselle, that is not what he said. What he said was he's going to play with Jalen first because he understands the rules in a way that you don't understand them yet, which makes sense. He's a teenager. She's 7. That's not what she heard. All she heard is, you don't want to play with me. And so what happens, and it was a really great example of what the same thing we do as adults. Someone says one thing, you hear something completely different. Both of y'all pissed off now, like you mad. There was a whole bumping heads. Whereas leaders, what we have to do as entrepreneurs, what we have to do as business owners, what we have to do is we have to listen so we can communicate effectively. If we find ourselves in a position where we think that people are not hearing the message that we are conveying, we need to say it a couple of different ways so perhaps they can pick it up a different way. Okay. Prayerfully, this was helpful for you guys. Have an amazing weekend. You guys, we are officially halfway through our book. Oh my goodness. Monday, we're picking up on Secret 21, which says change is scary. Man, as painful as change can be, it often contains the seeds to growth because change is constant, is a constant reality. Like they're just, man, they're so, there's one coming up that says press forward. Even when the road ahead is not clear, that's going to be good. Do not let your fear conquer you. Press on. That's going to be good. Next week. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be a good week next week. Next week, we talk about all things change. Let's go. All right, y'all. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you. I'm loving going through this book. I pray that you guys are getting something from it too. Have a powerful and an amazing weekend. I will be in Iowa tomorrow, growing our team, starting new franchises, helping one of our leaders in Iowa. And I'm so grateful. I love you guys to life. Have a wonderful weekend. See you Monday. Bye.